Hey, welcome back to another episode of The Drunken Cryptid.
Was these two globes. I don't know how to describe them. And I stood up there and looked at them, and it's like,
I just couldn't hold it anymore, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was a chupacabra. I was so excited.
They were referring to Bigfoot.
There are voices in the darkness.
Reason why this show is called Drunken Cryptid.
You know, Jacob and Chris, you ever notice when we're out doing investigations and researching and stuff, we rarely find any scat?
I noticed that.
Yeah.
You know why?
Why?
Porta potties.
Porta potties.
Porta potties. That's right. I'm willing to bet Sasquatch is using porta potties.
Who does he get them from?
Well, I tell you right now, he can get a hold of them Arkansas portable toilets there in North Little Rock. They provide weekly services, bi-weekly services, even 3 times a week services. They provide hand wash stations. They also provide freshwater tanks and holding tanks for your trailers. That's right. Special events units for if you're having a crazy event, if you're going to have a Sasquatch encounter, you can have a personalized special event porta potty just for your Sasquatch investigations. That's the reason why we're not finding any scat out there.
Makes sense.
Exactly. Arkansas Portables is number 1 when you're going number 2. I just want you to know that. But you can reach out and contact them 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, at 501-753-7140. Again, that's 501-753-7140. They're great for your construction sites. They're good for any, like I said, special events. They are there for you. I can tell you that right now. But contact them on up. Again, their phone number is 501-753-7140, and they cover most of Central Arkansas. So if you have a porta potty need, just ask Sasquatch. He goes to Arkansas Portables. And welcome back to another episode of The Drunken Cryptids. I'm your host, Matthew Wharton. And I do want to give a shout out real quick to Dylan over there at blademedia.com. Dylan, thank you for the graphic. Thank you for the website. You guys, Blade Media did the graphic for us for our logo. And they also built the website. If you want an example of what Blade Media can do, please go check out their website, blademedia.com. That's Blade, B-L-A-Y-E-D, media.com. So go give them a shout out. Thank you, Dylan. I appreciate everything you've done. And of course, special shout out to the team. I don't do this by myself. I have a good team that supports me and surrounds me. So I definitely want to give a shout out to you guys. As always, I mean, I'm not where I'm at, because of me. It's because of the team that I have around me. So thank you again. Appreciate it. All right. Shows coming up. We do have on January 14th, we are going to be at the Censored Monkey from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Come on out, meet us. We'll have the equipment. We can record some of your encounters. There's some folks started reaching out to us are going to meet us up there. So come out, join us. We'll have a good time. It is a 21 and only establishment, though, so you got to bear that in mind. Sorry, kids. On February 8th, we are going to be at the Paradise Pizza in Ozark, Arkansas. That's from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Again, February 8th, Ozark, Arkansas, Paradise Pizza, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. We're going to be doing an open town hall meeting with Todd Neese, good friend of mine. Great guy. You get a chance to come meet him. Ask questions to myself, to Todd. It'll be hosted by the Arkansas Bigfoot Cartel, who will also be doing some expeditions that weekend. So if you want more information on that, go ahead, email me again, message me again, drunkencryptids@gmail.com. The big news is April 5th, live show with the Cryptids of the Corn guys. That's right, they're going to come down here to Arkansas. We're going to be at Old Bart's, 600 North Main Street in North Little Rock from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. That's on April 5th. Tickets are for sale. This is a ticket event, you guys, so limited seating, limited availability. I'll be recording for an hour. They're going to be recording for an hour. I know what Justin and Jay are going to be talking about. I know what I'm going to be talking about. It's going to be a good time, you guys. You get a chance to meet and greet with us, ask us questions. With a live show, we get a chance to kind of show pictures, versus like a radio show, how you just hear us talk, we describe, but we get a chance to show pictures. We'll be sharing everything that we've been doing, what we've been up to. it's going to be a lot of fun. You get a chance to meet and greet with us. Old Bart's is going to have a full menu available, including the Drunk Encrypted Burger, which is an amazing burger. Paul, I love it over there. Thanks, man. That's on April 5th, though. The ticket information is available on the website. It's on our website. It's on the Cryptos Corn website, and it's going to be in the description of the show below. So please make sure that if you want to join in, great. Get your tickets before they go because they are selling. If you are coming from out of town, go ahead, message me. I can help you get hotels in the area close by. That way, you know where it's at, and you get a chance to hang out with us. I'm not gonna lie, we're gonna visit with you guys. The show's about y'all, so come out, hang out with us, and join in. And of course, you guys, I appreciate all the support. Keep liking, keep sharing. It means a lot to me. Keep commenting. If there's an episode you like, great. Drop a comment. Hey, I love this show. If you don't like it, well, don't comment. I mean, the world's full of trolls. It really is. Not as mean as there used to be. But go ahead, like, comment, share. I appreciate all the 5-star reviews, you guys. I really do. The more comments we get, the more that we get out there in the algorithm, and that helps the show grow, and it can reach some other people who are trying to maybe get some encounters, they feel lost about. So this does help folks out. So the more you like it, the more you share it, the more people get out there. So I appreciate it. But again, if you've had an encounter and you want to talk about it, email me, drunkencryptos@gmail.com. And follow us on all your social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, X. We are everywhere. So appreciate it. But now, on to the show. Hey, everybody. We have a returning guest coming for us tonight. And again, across from me is Jacob. Everybody say hi to Jacob.
What's up, everybody?
Hi, Jacob. But I am bringing back this will be her 3rd episode, and we're going to cover into a totally different topic. And this is a topic that we're going to cover tonight. I have some knowledge on, probably enough to maybe, kind of BS my way around the water cooler, if you know what I'm talking about. So, and to me, it's fascinating. I know that the U.S. government's done experiments into this. I know the Russians have done experiments in this topic. So, there's a lot to this topic here. And so, we're kind of getting into some really deeper stuff. And, but Marietta, welcome back. How are you?
Good.
So, glad to have you on. How's the weather up there in Pennsylvania?
It's a little bit on the cold side. We've had some snow, but not as much as you have.
Speaking of snow, I just want you to know that your weather is in my yard, and I really need you to come and get it.
Yes, please.
Okay. I'll be there.
I mean, it has been like nothing like we're lows in the teens, and we got hit with 8 inches here in central Arkansas. Some places got hit with 12 inches.
Wow.
And we spent the whole entire weekend, believe it or not, Arkansas style, with a fire and snowmen and snowball fights, and the neighbors came over, gathered on the fire, and we just had some winter spirits around the fire, and watched my beloved Steelers lose the first round of the playoffs as they normally do, because that's what they do.
Yes.
But we're not here to talk about football because I'm not over it yet. So, but no, let's get in. So we're going to talk about remote viewing, because your life so far, so many experiences and so many things. Angel healing. I mean, there's so much going on to it. And so, but let's talk a little bit about remote viewing, because I'm not an expert. I'm not even going to come close to being an expert. Again, I know just enough to maybe BS my way around the water cooler if somebody was to bring it up.
Yes. Okay. Well, a little bit of what I know of it myself, I kind of fell into it, to be honest with you. I'll go back again. I had an accident in 2003 where I had a near-death experience. And I think I mentioned that both times in our other 2 talks briefly.
Yeah, we did talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hit on it pretty well on your first episode.
Yes. So I'll make it kind of quick. I'm just kind of going to go back real quick just to say that much. So a lot of these things started to happen, and they have continued to happen as I've used my talents and abilities more and more. just like I've said before, peeling away at an onion. There's layers upon layers until you get to the core of the onion. And that's pretty much what has happened with me over the years. I would say the remote viewing kind of started with me about 3 years ago that I was aware of. And it actually came up in a paranormal case that I was doing for a gentleman that had asked me to do a schoolhouse that his psychic Beverly had worked at it's in the area of Mount Pleasant, which is on the eastern side of Pittsburgh, probably about 50 miles out, closer to those that might be familiar with that area in Pennsylvania, near Ligonier, Pennsylvania. So I had gone out there, met up with another team, and he had called me actually the night before and, asked me he says, I know it's at the last minute, but do you think maybe you might be able to join us? And I said, sure. And, we were talking about this, and all of a sudden I start drawing this basement of this building. And, had it nothing to do. He wasn't telling me anything about it. I had this urge to do this. And the reason it is I just started to get downloads of images. So the next day I went and I told Ed, his name's Ed Kellerman, and he actually writes a lot of books about ghosts and spirits and some of his paranormal encounters here in Pennsylvania. And he does do some paranormal work as well. And he's also friends with a lot of the cryptid teams in Pennsylvania as well. So, I went there and I had my dowsing rods and some of the stuff I used to do paranormal work with. And so I said to them, you know what? After I got off the phone with you last night, I jotted some things down and I kind of sketched this room that I have. And they started laughing. And the very first, well, I guess I should back up. The very first time I met him, I did this as well. And it was a house. And I was talking to him on the phone at the time, and I was sketching the outside of this house, and I had showed him a picture. Now, going forward again about this place, I said to him, does this place have a boiler room downstairs and things like that? And I opened up the paper, and I was showing him and Beverly this downstairs, and they both looked at each other and busted out laughing, and they said, pretty much sketched the main part of the basement. And yes, there are boilers that actually go across the wall of this basement because it was an old schoolhouse. And I said, okay. And I had steps that go down the right side of how you go down to this basement. And there's kind of like a little cubby hole, and there's some rooms that branch off, into the other parts of this room. And they said, come on, let me show you. So I went down, and it was exactly, this rough sketch that I made. And, he was like, I don't know how you do it. And I said, I don't know how I do it either. This is just something that just started happening. But everything I kind of sketched at that point was pretty much where it needed to be. And I had also told him that, there was a portal in the room alongside, and that room did end up panning out to have a lot of activity. And in fact, when I went in that room with the team the first time, my flashlight, which was brand new, went out immediately. And another person had that same issue, and we actually had a recorder that went out too. So there was definitely some activity in that room, and you could feel the static electricity in the room. this building had some really interesting energy in it. And I had walked down another corridor that I could feel some more things with it. And again, I started going through and I was using my dowsing rods along with it. And I looked up and I said, where does this lead to? I said, because the energy that's going into this room and into this hallway here is going straight up. Well, it turns out the room that I pinpointed, I found out once I got there and asked the question, was the room of offices upstairs that actually was having the most activity, and most of it was negative activity. So, and when we walked up there, it like hit you immediately. And what I found when I went up there immediately was there was a mirror on that wall that led from upstairs from that little that little hallway down below. The mirror was on the wall. There were two windows, and the mirror was actually hitting a window directly. And I took the mirror down immediately and did a lot of cleansing and clearing of energy in that room. But it was funny because immediately when I got in there, that's the first thing I did was show them this like rough sketch of what I saw. The images that I get when I do remote viewing is images that I see, like somebody would say to me, if they were familiar with psychics, or a psychic would say, I see it through the third eye. So it's not seeing it with your physical eyes. And so the imagery is more or less in the center of your head. We do have a gland in the center of our brain. That's one of two glands that is somewhat unknown, but it's also considered to be not used by us. And it's a mystery as to why we don't use it. And in some of us, apparently, like myself, I do use it. And I use it because when I had that accident in 2003, I got banged around. They don't know if it was 5 times or 50 times because I crashed into tables and chairs and walls and windows because it was in the midst of a microburst that had hit a construction trailer. This microburst came out of nowhere. And eventually I got sucked out of this construction trailer and everything just happened so quick. So when I did come back from all of this stuff in the midst of the recovery and, putting myself back together physically, mentally, and emotionally, and then I started to, I guess, learn talents that were starting to come. This was one of them that eventually started to unravel with me as well. And to be truthful with you, at times, even when I have somebody sitting in front of me when I'm reading them, I will do that. This remote viewing will happen. And even when I've had clients that I'm reading over the phone, I can go in and do the same thing. It's the only way I can explain it is I somehow go into their energy field and I'm able to get the images. And I can do that. And I did it with another client just recently in December. And I was doing a reading on him. And in the midst of the reading, I said, I got a question to ask you. And he said, yeah, what? And I said, well, you have a lot of activity going through the center of your house. I said, from your front door to your kitchen door. I said, it's like a thoroughfare. I said, you got spirits going through. I said, are you aware of that? And he says, oh, yeah. He says, we have activity. He says, actually, the front door, there is the living room's there. The dining room is in the middle of the house, and the back half of the house is the kitchen and the basement. And so I said, okay. I said, let me ask you a question. I said, when I go to the basement door, it's on the left side of, when I open the door, I'm going down the steps to the left side of the basement. And he goes, yeah. And I said, okay, I'm walking down the steps now. I'm going down the steps, and at the bottom of the steps, you have a landing. And when I go to the landing, I'm going to turn to my right, and the majority of your basement is to the right. I said, you have a door right off the side of this landing, and then you have another one that's slightly off-centered. It's not quite in the middle of this room. He says, yeah. And I said, okay. And then I explained the way, where there was like a laundry tub and washer and dryer and things like that. And I said, you got energy coming right through the center here, but it leads from the door that comes right off the steps here. I said, does that lead to the outside? He says, yeah, it does. I said, okay, let me ask you another question. You got a water source here, a creek or something that's nearby? And he says, well, maybe about a half a mile away. I said, okay, because water can definitely magnify activity. But my suspicion, and I had said it to him too, was that they may have had an underground spring underneath the house. And water plays a big part when you're dealing with portals or energy like that, or even with spirits going through. But I never saw the house. I've never seen a picture of the house. I know he lives in Reynoldsburg, Ohio, but I have no idea what this house looks like. The fact that I described his basement, what I saw going down the steps, he never mentioned it. So when I, mentioned about going down the steps and going off and seeing his basement, that was all imagery that was coming right through the center of my forehead. And it was as clear as I was saying it to him. So I was in the moment when I was actually doing it.
So I have like a ton of questions already.
I bet you do.
I really do. They're not bad. They're not. No, they're not bad.
I'm just being funny.
Okay, so all this really started for you after the accident back in 2003, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so before that, nothing really.
The only other time and it was actually you that made me think about it after we did our second show. I was about 15, so say around the puberty. I'm getting like you, can't say the word.
Hey.
But my mom was very much, we were both always into, like I said before, ancient Egyptians and all this other stuff. And growing up, that's what I was into. Always was fascinated with all that. And I guess we were walking and we were talking while we were doing this. And I used to be able to get images of, like, for her, she swore she came from Egypt at one time. It was a past life of hers, and she was in this tomb. She said she didn't think it was ever discovered. And I started to tell her about this room that I saw. And the floor was blue and had sparkles of gold in it, which I believe now it was probably a lapis floor with the gold specks in it. And I could see a disc on the wall, but it didn't look like a zodiac disc. It was more either of some kind of sundial or something. I could never get close to it. But I did also tell her that there was some kind of staff along the wall, and that when the sun would hit it at a certain time, it showed a map. Now, the ironic thing was, do you remember when Raiders of the Lost Ark came out?
I was just thinking that.
Yes. I just about fell off my chair when that first came out and they showed that. And I was like, oh my God, that's what I was telling you.
The map room in tennis.
Yeah. And so it was something like that I described to her at that point. That's the only other time that I could remember something like that ever happening. Like it just disappeared after that until now, like in the last few years.
That's crazy. I'm like, no, the tennis
No,
room, the map
I
room in
get it.
tennis. Yep, the map room. That was,
Yeah.
I remember that. As soon as you were describing, I was going, wait a minute.
I know. That's why I said it, because people will go, wait a minute. She knows that from Raiders of the Lost Ark. No. It
I
is
think a lot of
because-
Hollywood movies are a lot of soft disclosure about stuff. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I really am. Okay, so
And
this
I
is
might have been a little bit younger than that. So 13 maybe?
13.
Somewhere in that time period. Yeah, maybe 13.
Okay.
Somewhere.
Well, I'll be honest with you. The older we get, I can look back and go, well, now, wait a minute. I can't really say an age. I can only have to go off like what grade I was in.
Yes.
Like,
me
well,
too.
when I was in third grade, I can remember that. But then I was going, wait, how old are you in third grade? I'm like, oh, okay. I just, just kind of roll with it from there. Okay, so real quick, though, when you go on these paranormal things, you said you use dowsing rods. Is there any other tools that you use as well, or no?
I've used the recorders. I don't have a whole lot of equipment. I kind of mostly go with me. I'm pretty much a tool myself because I sense energy.
You're not a tool. Sorry, I had to throw that out there.
I sense energy, and sometimes I can see it. So I actually use the rods to confirm it, and then with that, somebody else that has the scientific equipment, so they can, pick it up. And
kind of back it up.
I back it up.
Okay.
Because I originally came from, when I first started with a team, I had been part of a TAPS team, and there was no psychics. They rolled all that stuff out, so it was always scientific first.
Yeah,
and
that's how I like to do my investigations as well.
Yeah.
Science first. Once you can rule anything out from there, then it becomes, odd.
Yeah.
So real quick, so the building that you were just telling us about, did you know the history of this place or no? I mean,
no, I make sure that I don't know anything about it, so that whatever happens, I will find out after the fact. Once I reveal things,
yeah.
that's usually when I find out. I prefer people not to tell me, because to me, if I know anything about it, it kind of ruins
Validation.
my validation. Yes.
Yeah.
Because somebody will say, well, you already knew that. I had no idea the history. And what I found out after I was pretty much through the building and did a lot of investigating of it, here, the woman that was Ed's psychic actually went to school there in grade school. They had turned this building into a senior center. And it was actually, when I was there, was probably the end of the second year of the COVID. They still had the COVID, like you would get scanned to see if you had COVID.
Okay, yeah.
They had one of those machines there that would scan you to make sure you didn't have it.
Oh, not running a temperature or something like that.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
walk in. Yeah, I remember that.
So it was at the latter half of the second year of COVID when we did it. So it was funny because she now worked in that building, and her office was 2 doors away from where all the activity was with this other woman. And I cleared all the offices. I cleared I think I cleared every room in that place. There was another woman that was with us, and she couldn't even do the walkthrough. She got sick then. She was sick the entire time. She couldn't even stay in the building.
Really?
Yeah. She was the one that actually drove me, but every time she would go down to the basement, she would get sick. So it was something was bothering her down there. Um, so, and there are people that are very sensitive to energy and spirits that does happen with.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I guess maybe I guess my only hard time I have with psychics is that, like I was saying before, I think we were talking about it off air.
Mhm.
That it's just one of those things that I can't for me,
Mhm.
because when I run a podcast about all this stuff,
Mhm.
so obviously I'm fascinated with anything that has to do with anything that has to deal with it, and the sad part is there's been so many charlatans
Oh
in
yeah.
your field.
Yeah.
And, there was a huge craze in the late 1800s about it.
Mhm. The
They would
spiritual
go
life.
do seances and they would go do this you know, and, like one of the most infamous pictures of ectoplasm is coming out of a lady who was a medium who's doing a seance. And it's this, I don't know if you've seen the black and white photo of like the white blob stuff coming out of her mouth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Jacob's looking like, what? But, so for me, it's always, it's been a challenge,
Yeah.
to get into it. But then, it, I've had weird encounters, with it, step left, step right. This, it's,
Mhm.
like the uncanny ability to know something's going on.
Mhm.
If that makes sense, you just can't there's something not right. 2 and 2's not equal. Just one of those weird things about it.
Right.
On my end, and I don't think of myself any remotely close to being psychic or anything, but I do listen to when the hair stands up on the back of my neck, and I do listen,
Mhm.
to my gut feeling, and
Absolutely.
Jacob will verify that I've called out a lot of things and happen to be pretty right on them.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
because we all have the ability in us to have those gifts in us. So it's there. It's whether or not you've tapped into them. And excuse me. And when that happens, like you're talking about, is uh like using your gut feelings and being aware of, like, when the hairs go in the back of your neck or you have this feeling that something's not right. A lot of times that falls under the category of an empath. And that is a base to abilities. Not all, though, empaths are psychic. And I know that sounds crazy to say that, but
This is a podcast for cryptids of paranormal. It doesn't sound crazy at all.
but um depending on what other one of your talents, whether it's clairvoyant or clairaudient, being able to see, being able to hear, or having both of those ability, being able to smell or taste something, and you've started to develop those, that's kind of the base. An empath can be the base of those clairs. So everybody has the ability to be that. It's just where and how you develop it. But I think too, I told you before, not all psychics can be considered a medium either.
True.
Where the medium, like I am, is I get to deal with the spirits as well. So mine goes a little further.
Okay. Now you mentioned though in the building you went upstairs and there was a mirror facing the window.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So now I do know that 2 mirrors facing each other is bad juju.
Yes.
Okay, so I know that. So a mirror facing a window, is that bad juju as well or no?
It works the same way as 2 mirrors.
But why would a window? I mean, I get the 2 mirrors facing each other, but it's a window. I mean, it's a window. It's looking outside. It's not facing another mirror. You know what I mean?
Well, water can do the same thing. It gives off reflection, light. And so if you got some kind of portal going on there, it can do the same thing as a mirror. And I know I've worked with some teams that don't believe that, and I've worked with others that do believe in it. In some of the cases where I've had mirrors like that happen, I've taken them off, or I've had somebody not line them up with a window, and the activity stopped.
Okay,
So,
because I'm asking because, like, the house I'm living in, they put a mirror on the outside of my bedroom door. So
okay.
when my bedroom door is open, which it generally is, there's the window right there above my bed that's angled right at. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I was like sitting there going, well, I have a mirror right there, and I mean, do I need to break the mirror or break the window?
No, don't break the mirror.
No,
I
I
would
know. I just had to throw
probably,
that out there.
for your own safety there, if you're not getting activity, why?
Because they
Um,
don't like me.
well, if you were getting activity there, I would say move it. If you're not getting activity there, why invite it?
No, well, here's the thing. I mean, and the reason why I say they don't like me is, the one episode we were talking about the haunted house I lived in Copper's Cove,
Yeah.
and my little, then at the time, my oldest daughter, she was little at the time, and yeah, she said that she had this little imaginary friend kid,
Mm-hmm.
and here I am, Billy Badass in the army, and she's like saying he had this little ghost thing, and I was like, what? No, I believed it at the time. And she was like, well, he's on the roof of the house. And we had a little playhouse in the backyard.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, and so my buddy Rick, he's been on the show a few times. I love you, Rick. And Rick was like, well, where's he at? And she was like, well,
Mm-hmm.
he's on the roof. And he goes, well, why is he on the roof? And she looked him dead in the eye. And her little innocent 6-year-old self, he goes, he's afraid of daddy. And my immediate response to that one, I stood up and went, damn right, you're afraid of me. It's my house, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, but that's just my ego talking a little bit there, too. So I was just kind of curious about the mirror thing. So, okay, you were talking about when you remote viewed in December for this guy,
Mm-hmm.
and you just kind of, did you just automatically go into the remote viewing thing, or do you turn it on? I mean, does it automatically happen? Like, while we're doing this right now, could you just, like, pop in here into the den and see what's going on, or... Just out of curiosity. I mean, I'm asking because I don't know.
Yeah. Sometimes I can automatically go right into it. Sometimes I kind of get a feeling that something's going on, and I kind of sense it and pick it right up.
Okay.
So
Because again, I don't, because I know for the remote viewing part that the government did the experiments on it, trying to use it to spy on Russians, and the Russians were trying to do the same thing, spy on the Americans, which is cool. I'm not going to lie. I think that's pretty cool, man. You could do that. Sweet. But I don't know. The smartest of me comes out a lot when it comes to this stuff too, though. So I try to reel it in. Jacob's trying not to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not laughing or making fun. It's just because I just go, wow, that'd be awesome. If I could remote view me, I'd be like checking out like the Northern Lights. I'd be looking for like certain spots in the woods for Bigfoot. I'd be, the drones going over Jersey. I'd be wanting to check that out because I know that's the elf on the shelf. I don't care what anybody says. I would die on that hill.
Well, I know that the she squatchers that work with Jason Kenzie,
Yeah.
The Jen and Jenna and oh gosh, it's going to kill me. The other girl, I can't think of her name right at the top of my head right at the moment. They do that. They use a form of remote. They call it like a GPS, and they kind of Tammy, that's the other girl. They use it as a form to try to locate Bigfoot as well when they do investigations, because the three of them also have abilities. They're definitely one team I'd like to work with them if they ever come a little bit closer my way, to be able to work with them and use some of those skills that I have to try it out. It's definitely, that's one of the things on my to-do list, is to work with a Squatch team to be able to do that.
That would be kind of cool. Just have somebody back there in support to be able to like go, check out the tree. I mean, again,
Yeah.
I don't know. I was like, look at your right. I mean, seriously, it's just,
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny because also I was doing some, uh, I was looking some things up today. Just wanted to see a couple things when we were talking about the subject today. And I came across there was a project that was done. It was called the Carnival Project. They used remote viewers uh, to actually help them find and excavate in Jamaica at the St. Anne's Bay in Jamaica to find the remains of Columbus's two ships that were abandoned when he was marooned there.
Well, that's kind of cool. I mean, could you use it to
Yeah.
like find missing people?
Well, I guess the ships ran aground after a while. He was actually marooned there until other ships were able to come and find them.
Right.
So the boats, I guess, were damaged, so they couldn't sail. And so after a period of time, they probably sunk below, but they were actually afterwards able to find what was left of them. And when they were talking about this, they found the remains of his two ships, and were able to excavate them. I found that pretty interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. You
I
know,
mean, but like
I know,
for like the remote view, can you like find missing people or you know what I mean?
that's another thing. Finding missing people, places where they have been at, and that's been another project that I would really like to work with as well, is being able to do that because a lot of times the police can only go with so much information, and that trail after a certain period of time becomes cold. So where psychics come into play there is being able to find a location, or sense certain things. If they're able to connect with that person that may have already passed on, they may get clues. And that's why you will have sometimes these cases, you will hear about them, or cold cases they've used them with. Um, you know, and it's funny because they actually find out things that a lot of times the police departments keep out of the news because so somebody else can't say they,
Yeah.
people will come forward to say, oh yeah, I know this, I know that, and they don't, so a psychic will be able to come in and actually, that may be some of the things, once they find things, they're able to pinpoint those certain things and find where maybe somebody was at. It's what I do in the way of remote viewing is more what they would call a spiritual remote viewing. So I use my abilities to work more on the spiritual side of things versus like how the Army tested it for years, and the CIA and the FBI also had used it for quite some time in the government, and looking at like Russia and places like that were not so good for us as our, to protect us as our country.
Yeah.
So, it is interesting, very much so, to see how it's been done. But it was also tested back at the time of Carl Jung and other men of that time period. Carl Jung is a name that pops up quite a bit in the metaphysical field, because he studied a lot of what you would consider his forms of research in things that would have been quite strange in his time period. Well, were a lot more radical, or his beliefs were considered to be more radical compared to Freud. But a lot of books out there today, a lot that I've even come across reading that has to do with different healing modalities, psychic abilities, they always go back to some of the things that he had studied early on. So it's interesting, how others had looked at this long before we ever knew anything about it.
Well, I mean, they call them seers too back in the day.
Yes.
So there is some historical, people with these abilities, with your abilities, throughout history. So, okay, so questions, because so when you do this, do you need what do you need to be able to do this? What tools?
Sometimes nothing. It just happens. I could be in the middle of a reading and it comes.
Well, so then you're open up then. So when you're doing a reading, you're open up. You're using.
Pretty open. Yeah.
Okay.
Probably the biggest thing I have to have is just a calm mind and no distraction.
Man, that would definitely not be in my mind.
Well, when I get into when I'm going into working with a reading with a client, I kind of go into a different, I guess, mind mode anyhow. So I guess what it does is I actually relax. So that's kind of how I guess I do it, in a way that it just opens the doors for me and does it. And I've kind of wondered myself. I'm like, how does this happen to me? So, like, it just happens, because I've had people say, how do you do that? And I go, the only thing I can think of is I somehow absorb or go into somebody's energy field, and it happens. It's almost like I get pulled in.
So are you able to like turn it on, turn it off, or?
Yeah, I guess I do. That's.
So like if you were sitting at home right now, so through remote view, if you're like, I want to check out, see what's happening in Disneyland. No,
Okay.
I'm just throwing that out there because it's Super Bowl season. So I'm going to Disneyland.
I'm going to Disney.
It's my generation. It's how old I am. But so can you? Because I'm trying to get my head, because I think the science behind it's awesome. I really do. I think it's really cool to have an ability to be able to sit there and go, you know what? I'm just gonna pop in and see what's happening in Moscow. Hey, what's up? Or go and check out, the top of, Pinnacle Mountain here, or Everest, or just, can you do that?
I probably can, but I can see things, but in that way, who would I have to? I'm obviously I'm going to see imagery, but it's almost like if I said that to somebody, the answer that would come back is, well, how do you know you saw that? How do you know it's not your imagination? There wouldn't be somebody else there to say, yes, you're right.
Validated. Okay, so you'd have to have a target. Like right now, if I was to tell you to target Jacob.
Poor Jacob.
I know. Look, she already knows you. So you'd be like, target Jacob, and you'd be able to maybe go to the room that he's at and see what was going on or something like that, right?
Uh-huh.
That is so cool.
That would be weird. On my part.
Oh, well, you wouldn't know.
I know.
Sweet. We're going to talk off air. We're going to spy on Jacob.
No, we're not.
Tell me something.
No, we're not.
Poor Jacob. But I will tell you, too, a lot of times the spiritual part of this, it focuses on, when I do it, it's considered to be growth in the form of your psychic abilities. Like you said, finding lost people, lost animals. Sometimes people are able to do it. It's considered a gift, but like I said, everybody has that gift in them. Some people are afraid of it too. So
do you think that maybe that's for some kids to know you people, where they're hearing voices? They're not really hearing voices. They're hearing everybody else's thoughts or stuff like that. Maybe
they could, and I've had that happen too with people. And my first question is, are you hearing voices or are you hearing commands? Because there's a difference there, and how do these voices come across? And like, I get a voice, it's a whisper. And generally I get it on the right side.
So like your right ear.
Yeah, my right ear.
Okay. Now you remember I'm former infantry, so I'm not the brightest guy in the room. So sometimes I'm going to ask some of the dumb.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, think about it. You're you would be the average person that has no knowledge of anything, and you would hear something like that coming out of a person like me, and the first thing you're going to go is, okay.
Well,
This person is not.
modern science and modern psychology
Hmm.
has completely changed the game in the paranormal world.
Absolutely.
You know, they, being a big firm believer in the paranormal and all that, we know that a couple hundred years ago they were doing exorcisms and they were doing a whole bunch of stuff. Now science is going to go, no, sorry, they're just schizophrenia, or they have
Hmm.
ADHD, or they, you know what I mean?
Yes.
There's like a label for everything now.
Yes.
And I wonder if it's just a cover up, maybe somehow. I don't know.
Could be because, a lot of times it didn't make sense, especially in those time periods. And the easiest thing to use was, oh, it's the devil, or it's evil, or it's this and it's that. And so that person, especially in those, up into the early 80s, even, people were put as shut-ins into hospitals and places of the criminally insane and stuff like that because they had that. Also, religions that frowned upon talking like that. And we do still have some of that today. So, um, I know myself, I've been a victim of that. That I've been told my gift is evil. That how do I know what I do is not being um, told by the devil or by evil spirits? And to me, there's a difference there because I've seen things that are good and I've seen things that are not so good. And, and I have recorded, and I think I've sent you both in the past
Yeah.
to show you that. And, I have that, and that's my evidence. And, everybody has a right to their own opinion. And that's how I look at it.
Well, like on our your last interview that we did, and we were talking about some of the stuff, and I am on the page where not everything paranormal is evil, and there's a
Right.
lot of that out there. There really is,
Hmm.
and I think it's fear of people who are afraid of the paranormal.
Hmm.
And so if it's strange and unusual, I mean, it's the devil,
Right.
and I don't think everything is the devil. Now, granted, it sells. It looks great on TV.
Correct.
It looks great on books. It looks great on TikTok.
Hmm.
It looks great on all these platforms right there. And what's funny is that, if everybody's saying everything is out there that's evil at this, then why you keep watching it?
Right.
you know,
Absolutely.
and seriously, why? I mean, if you're so against it, why you keep watching it? Why you keep supporting it?
Hmm.
I don't believe that everything paranormal that happens is evil. I don't think 90% of the paranormal that happens is evil. I really don't. I
I agree
think
with
there's a
you there.
lot of residuals. I think there's a lot of residuals. I think there's a
Hmm.
lot of places that are a little bit more energetic than others.
Uh-huh.
And, this is through my research.
Yes.
And, and of course, like my theory on Bigfoot changes every day. So does my theory a lot on this paranormal stuff. But a few things I'm holding, standing on my guns to, and it's not evil.
Right.
It's truly not evil. I mean, I've seen one full body apparition. I mean, it
Hmm.
startled me because I wasn't expecting a person to be standing right beside me and then not. I mean, yeah, when that happens. But
Yeah.
there was like, nothing. I got touched in Tombstone, Arizona,
Hmm.
and I mean, it was a touch. I
Yeah.
got touched here at Four Quarter, downtown North Little Rock. I got touched down there, and yeah, you're not expecting it. So,
Hmm. Well,
prime
that's.
example. I was showing Jacob a picture earlier of this guy sent me of what he encountered crawling through his window, and
Hmm.
the best description he could. It's a creepy picture, and
Yeah.
my dog came up behind him and licked his hand, and it startled him. Now, that doesn't mean my dog was evil, but it just caught him off guard. And I think
Right.
that's where a lot of people, I don't know. And of course, it's like, they go into a haunted house and they're like taunting things and demanding things to happen. And when it does, they go running out screaming. I'm like, well, what do you expect? I mean, I'm just saying, but
Right. You don't taunt because it's lack of respect for the spirits that are there. And two, a lot of these places that are paranormal, like even some of these hospitals and places like that have history of a lot of these things, there's a lot of confused spirits that are there. They're stuck there, or they, because of illnesses or things that had happened to them, they never left what they were familiar with, whether it was good or bad.
let me pause you real quick because you just
Okay.
because I hate interrupting and I apologize and apparently I'm famous for doing it. Yes, and I apologize. But don't. So if it is a lost, confused, soul or whatnot, I mean, it would have a psyche though, wouldn't it? I mean, it would have like a conscience or something. I mean, being stuck and trapped like that, wouldn't it kind of almost go ghost insane?
That's a good question.
I mean, if you think about it, if like Jacob was to suddenly drop dead right now of a massive heart attack, not knowing it, and I'm only saying because Jacob's right in front of me, but so think about it. So you drop dead right now, massive heart attack, Jacob, and you spend the next 300 years stuck in the den of this house. You know what I'm talking about? And you can't do nothing, and you're only reliving like certain flashes, maybe or something. Wouldn't that like drive your psyche insane?
I would go nuts.
I would be. Well, yeah, I've been trapped in the house since Thursday. I mean, because of the snowstorm and the Jeep
But
is in the
especially
shop.
300 years.
300, yeah, 300 years. I mean, I mean,
I would go ghost insane.
do you still wear the same clothes you died in or something, or do you just project that? I have so many questions for ghosts. I seriously want to have a conversation with a ghost. I really
Yeah.
do. Like, and honestly, God, sit down and go. So, Bob,
And I guess that's where residual comes into play, and where active conversation comes into play with spirits that interact with us.
well, have you been getting more and more encounters of shadow people lately? Just out of curiosity.
And I've
Me
had people
too.
ask me that as well. I think a lot of this, a lot of people that I've talked to that do paranormal work, and people that have, that are psychics, that we've had this conversation more than one time, have all asked the same question or have talked about this subject. And my personal thoughts are on this, and I could be wrong, but this is, like I said, this is just me, my opinions and thoughts. A lot of energy and changes of shifts in energy during COVID. There was a lot of things that sped up, changed. People became aware of things. A lot of these people were awakened with their talents that, it was like the day before they would have never thought of this. And then all of a sudden, people were starting to wake up to this type of thought, and to them this was strange to them, or they were seeing things, or they were having strange dreams. But this was all part of an awakening of an energy that was starting to waken in some of these people. And I've had clients tell me this, even that is when it happened, around that time period. So I want to say that seems to be when a lot of these shifts changed in our world, in the spirit world, and everything else. And I think it amped up. And I know.
Do you think it shifted, or do you think it's been there and people just became more aware of it?
I think some of it shifted, and it kind of, this is how I would say, it kind of, our world and theirs may have collided a bit, or there were openings that were made. I have
Okay.
nothing to back it up with. It's just my personal thoughts or opinion.
No, I'm with you
It's
on
just
that one.
weird.
I want to play off of that real quick too, though. I see what you're saying, but you just, we were talking. Okay, so right now we are so mankind, humans, all of us, we're focused on our electronics, our phones, driving out and about. We're always doing something, and we're never really attention to where we're at the zone that we're at. We're always doing something,
Yes.
and I think when maybe because the, I drove around,
Hmm.
when it happened,
Hmm.
and and businesses were shut down, people were not in the streets, and it was odd,
Yes.
and it was very eerie, and I think that put a
Very good.
lot of people on edge.
Oh,
Hmm.
what, during 2019, 2020, all that
2020,
crap?
yeah,
Yeah.
during all that, to where it was very surreal,
Yes.
It was.
and
It was because
and
I
I
had to
won't
work.
forget, like I had to go to the store,
Hmm.
and the way people, and I had the kids with me, and I'm going to be chastised. I know if I took my kids in the store. I mean, but anyways, I mean, you know, we're all healthy. Um,
Face mask.
so, but just the way people were looking, and I'll never forget, in the parking lot, and this probably was a heartbreaker deal for me.
Okay.
One of my daughter's school friends was there, and her mom was there, and we were across lanes. You know how you go down the lane to park, park on one side, park on the left. And I was on the left of the parking aisle, she was on the right. And then little girls are looking at each other. And the mom just looked at me. She finally gave up. She goes, "Can they hug?" I went, "They better."
Yes. Yeah.
And that right there, and they did. They ran right to each other, big grins on their faces,
Hmm.
because they took their mask off because we are outside.
Hmm.
And but no, I think that that maybe a lot of us did get back to some nature. You did get back to not being distracted. I'll be honest with you, the Drunken Cryptid was born during that time frame
Yeah.
Yes, it
Yeah.
was.
in a bar of all places. But it was a very surreal timeline. And
Yeah.
whether you're right and things collided, it's a possibility, and we became
Hmm.
more conscious of our
Hmm.
surroundings, maybe.
Hmm.
And maybe that kind of helped open some people up.
Yeah, I believe so.
It's funny, we were supposed to be talking about remote viewing, and we went all over the board.
We can go back to remote. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
But
I just don't. Yeah, I don't understand remote. I don't know. I mean, we talked off air, so I mean, we can do this. I mean, you look at our call logs. I mean, I don't. I think the shortest phone call that you and me have had was
2 hours.
no, it's about an hour and a half actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that was the shortest phone call we had was an hour and a half.
Okay.
So, but I mean, so I'm just, yeah. Well, let's get back to the remote viewing real quick though. So, like I said, so I'm just curious about it. I'm going back to because I feel like I don't know, maybe I've seen too many movies, and so I'm kind
Hmm.
of, influenced by that. And I'm being honest. I mean, I might be influenced by watching too many movies, but yeah, I pictured you like in a room and a light bulb over you, and you got a map out, you got a picture of somebody, and you're like, that's is the target. Zoom in, you know.
Well, I can tell you, I had another experience with it. Um, I was doing a paranormal investigation, and it was before it turned into an investigation. I have a cousin who's a bishop, and he was asked to go out to this home. And again, it was out near me a little bit. It was probably about 30 miles west of where I live in the West Mifflin area. And they were, the lady who had contacted him, because he's an exorcist as well. But she had been friends with him for years. And um, she wanted him to go out and bless the house, but she also wanted him to go out and take a look and see what was going on there. So he had called me up and he says, "Hey, you have time? Come on out with me. Let's go look at this place." So I went out with him. And this couple had one child that they shared. And then they also, both of them had two children from prior marriages. So there were three children altogether, but one was theirs. And the one boy, the younger boy, was a little bit autistic, and the child that they shared, she might have been a little bit, maybe a little bit, but 2.5, maybe 3 years old. And when we got there, the little girl kept trying to pull us into her bedroom while they were talking about all this activity that they were having on the property. So while my cousin was talking to them about stuff, I actually went around and started looking for things and trying to see what I could pick up. And I had camera with me and my dowsing rods, and I kept getting pulled to certain areas. And then I went back into her room, and I was talking to them about where I felt that the portal was at in the little girl's room, because here I found out that the little girl, I actually questioned him. I said, the little girl's the one that has the communication with what's this negative that's been going, this negative spirit that's been acting up. The animals were affected by it and everything else. And while I was there, I turned around and I said to them, oh, by the way, I said, what do you know about the well that's in the backyard? She looked at him, and he just her husband looked at her, and she goes, did you tell her about the well? He goes, I never said anything. And my cousin, who's the bishop, looked at me, and he went, oh, that's why I brought her. And he didn't know exactly where it was at, but I basically told him where it was at. And later, we did bring a team in, but I also was doing some side investigating. And again, I ended up sketching out the backyard. And I hadn't done it that day because it was nighttime by the time we got out of the house. But I never really walked that yard, so I had no idea. So what I did was I started to do some drawing again happen, because that's all part of it. You can sketch things out. Some of your sketches can be very like stick figure-y. Some people that'll sketch may have something that's very specifically defined. Like I said, even sketch artists and things like that can draw a person's face. I've done stuff, like with mine, sometimes with my angel stuff can fall into that too. But I ended up drawing the backyard, and I kept finding where I pretty much knew where this well was coming from. But I also found another source that worked into a Y. And I said, the second time I went out there, I had gone out with another investigator, and she actually never was there. So this was her first time there. And she had a camera and video and everything else. And I had asked him about, well, do you have water running off the back of this hillside? And I had actually drawn the tree line, which I never saw, and also where deer and animals would come out. I had where the openings for the animals would come out through the yard. It was almost exactly where it was when I physically saw it. Then I used my dowsing rods, and I went north, south, east, and west. And I had turned my back to the spot that I knew, where I figured I knew where this well was at. In every direction, those rods would move it right back to where it was at. I used copper rods, and she videotaped it, and she also took pictures. And it was funny. And I also had found out that he had, a few weeks prior to that, did something with sewage or water or something that was running off. And he had made, a V shape at the top of the hill that went down into a runoff. So I was actually seeing that too. But I had sketched all that out. I had never saw the backyard until the second time I went, and it was in the daylight.
Well, what inspires you to sketch out?
I
think it was I was muted there. That's horrible. Let's try that again. So what inspires you to sketch?
I just get a feeling. It's like if I don't listen to that feeling, it'll drive me nuts until I do it.
I almost want to do an episode where we do something. I really do.
Yeah.
I'm like so tempted. I'm like going, so
Whoa, we got you on the stone today.
yeah, we can't sketch out my backyard because well, everybody on the Facebook page is the picture of the tavern are everywhere. So
Okay.
yeah, I know. Well, we'll come up with something.
Yeah. Well, you had mentioned that time too about doing that one, possibly doing something on one of your upcoming
Upcoming adventures.
yes adventures.
That's right. I know. No, I'm serious. I think that'd be kind of cool. Record an episode and actually kind of do like a remote viewing. Like you go to a spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to where she doesn't know, and
Bald knob.
dude, no, dude, if she was especially zoning in on some bald knob, she'd be seeing like Wendigos and skinwalkers. I mean, because
Just to describe what you saw.
like White County is full of everything weird and unusual. It seems like.
I know.
That might be the place to do it.
See, I
do
was
know
just
about
trying to talk you out of not taking you up there to it. I mean, I'm just saying.
Well, I know about Wendigos.
See, well, yeah, you're up in that part of the country. So the Wendigo, and I'm not knocking anybody who's seen one, but I think the Wendigo is kind of like the Tooth Fairy, and I mean that, and it's not necessarily kind of an accurate thing because the Native Americans would use, I think the Wendigo during harsh winters would say, "Hey, don't eat each other, bad,"
Yeah.
And I mean, there's more to it than that,
Yeah.
besides just cannibalism. So, to be turned into a Wendigo, but I mean, I think that's what it was used for. Hey, prime example, you commit, bad sins, you're going to hell. You commit, cannibalism, you're going to turn to this creature.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and then like your shapeshifters and everything else, there's the different legends about the shapeshifters. And again, a lot of that, the Native Americans talk about that. But a shapeshifter in itself in the Native American lores is actually what they would consider a bad witch within their tribe.
yeah.
In some of the native cultures.
Yeah.
So, so I go into some of that stuff. I like stuff like that. So
Yeah, I was just kind of curious. I mean, about the whole sketching thing. Like, when you get ready to do something, I mean, there's just like there's a voice on your right say, sketch. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
it almost like I have the urge to just go pull out a sketch pad or a piece of paper and just see what I come up with, because I just start getting flashes and imagery, and it comes out of, like I said, the third eye part of, the center of your forehead.
yeah. So like if you're watching TV or reading a book or cooking dinner or something, and that's kind of cool. I mean,
Yeah.
do you keep like a notepad around you at all times so it happens, or?
Have stuff like that, yes, but it's funny. I mean, I will go through it, and I think for me, the more I use my abilities, the more now it's easier to have that it happens. Or if I know I'm going to be doing something like that, I will tap into that particular area to be a little bit more prepared, so that I can bring something to the table myself to say, like I did with that one investigation that I was telling you about with the schoolhouse.
Yeah.
And I guess what I did too, because I did it with Ed 2 times. I had to have tapped into his energy, maybe brainwaves as well. I was getting imagery from him.
Very possibly. Yeah. I mean, I mean, it's fascinating. Like I said, this is an area I know enough to be able to hold a conversation around a water cooler, but I'm not, researched enough to be able to be like going, well, here's my theory, because I don't have any. I'm just going to, spitball stuff out there. Right. So it may sound like it's coming out of left field because, well, it is. It's coming from me. So it generally will be from left field. But, so... Yeah. Well, I want to bring this in for a landing, and the only reason why we're in the end of this a little shorter is because it's like 30 degrees outside, and my den is an extension where this used to be the deck area, and so the previous guy add an extension onto the house, which is nice. It's just great down here, except for the heating ducts and the air conditioning ducts are not connected properly.
Oh, nice.
So it gets
Cold.
It gets cold in the winter in here and warm in summer. If I turn the heater on in here, it's going to have this horrible droning sound out there.
Okay.
All right, but you are down to come back for another one, right?
Oh, awesome.
All right, I got kind of a full schedule. I think coming up and stuff. So, but yeah, we're still messaging Facebook, TikTok, all that stuff. So definitely keep in contact with me. But no, I think the whole remote viewing thing, in all honesty, is fascinating.
Yes, it is.
The more, and I tell everybody, when you get involved in the paranormal and
Mhm.
and cryptids and everything, it's more than just Casper and Bigfoot.
Right.
There's a lot to this, and
Right.
and what's funny is if you know where to look and it's right in front of you,
Mhm.
there's history of it.
Yes.
It's in the Old Testament. It's written.
Mm-hmm.
Started my truck.
Oh, that was you. I was like, what is that noise? So, all right. It's like, dear Lord, don't do that to me. No.
And I was,
No, well,
and I
we
was-
caught an EVP. We had an episode where we caught an EVP.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that was really cool. And
You almost talked over that one.
well, because I didn't. Well, no, we were talking. All of a sudden, it was there, and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Mhm.
And the guy didn't. We were interviewing. He didn't hear it, and Jared, he didn't hear it. And I wrote down the time because I'd heard something. That's why I had to pause it again. I was like,
Didn't
am I
hear it.
about to
Like,
start
what
writing
was
down the
that?
time? So, but I do want to say that again with the remote viewing, that there is a lot of the paranormal that is in history. There's psychics but they were called as witches and seers, but they were also they also guided the
Oracles.
tribe. They
Yes.
they gave advice, and they would make decisions based upon what they could see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people see, and the thing about it is that we look at now as, I'll be honest with you, the weatherman right now could be considered that way because of what they're doing. They are predicting the future
Yes.
of the forecast, and it doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
mean they're going to be right all the time. And they're going off of historical stuff, of patterns that have happened and what the patterns can do and what they think is going to happen. So they're making some very well educated guesses, and they did a pretty good job with the storm. I'll be honest with you, the one.
Yeah.
So that's really
Yeah.
hard
They
about the weatherman up.
Right. And any of this is not. It can be a science in a and in a psychology field they've used it as well. And there are researches out there. There are courses to take. I've never taken a course. Mine is all natural. I would be curious to take a course just to see where I fall in the midst of all this. But mine is, I guess, what some people would say is raw talent, and I've actually built it on that.
It sounds to me like it is a lot of raw talent.
Yeah.
And, because I was just curious. I mean, because when it comes to stuff, and again, I'm not trying to come across as smart ass, but
Yeah.
I mean, is there like a Yoda? You think of it, like Yoda, using the Force or being
Yeah.
trained, and just I don't know. That's kind of how I look at it. Just kind of. I know you're not levitating things, and you're not using lightsabers. I know you're not doing any of that. If you are, dear God, please tell me, because the show just went really cool. But not that
I
it wasn't
haven't
cool
done
before.
Uh-huh.
I'm just a Star Wars nerd. I actually put the movies on the other day while the snow and everything was happening. So yeah.
Well, to hear something funny real quick, I end it with this is I was watching one of the beginnings. I think it was the second movie where Yoda was training Luke Skywalker, and I was listening to it and I'm going, oh my gosh, this is so metaphysical.
Hey, Yoda was a smart puppet.
Yes, he was very metaphysical.
Yeah, do or do not. There is no try. Now,
Yeah.
and people go, that makes no sense. Like, it makes 100% sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you think about it, the first excuse everybody always says is what? I tried.
Exactly.
No, I did it. Did you do it or did you not? No, I didn't do it. Cool. What happened? I tried. No. Don't tell me you tried. Tell me what happened.
Right.
And so, I'll look at Jake. I'll tell him that because I'll go, I didn't do it. He's laughing because he knows I'm telling the truth.
Yeah, that too. And there's a certain line of a certain movie that's the best off the rock with Sean Connery.
Yeah. Okay.
Share it.
Oh, well, it has a cuss word in it. I ain't down to throw it
We'll
out.
bleep the cuss word out.
Well, it's just Nicolas Cage. He goes, "I'll try," and Sean Connery comes by and he goes, "Try," and he goes, "Was it losers try?"
Oh, the winners get
Yeah.
to go home and have a good time with the
prom
queen.
queen.
Yep,
Yeah.
I remember that one now. Yep. Exactly. But no, I mean, to where that's probably when that movie came out and those words, do or do not. There is no try.
Right.
It stuck with me as a kid, and
Yep.
I'll fall back on the whole entire try thing. I'm human, so I'm gonna say, man, I tried really hard, and and when I do that, to look at myself and go, but did you really?
Yeah, exactly.
Or did you just not do it?
Right.
And I'm like, no, I didn't do it.
Did you really put your energy
But you know
into
what?
it?
Did I give it my best? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So if I fail and I give it my best, I don't try. I just say I did it. I just didn't make it.
Correct.
So go ahead, Yoda. That's our shout out to Yoda. Well, Marita, I appreciate you coming on. I really do. Thank you again.
Sure.
We're going to jump off of here. And everybody, I tell you what, thank you again for listening. Appreciate all the support you've given us. Again, 2025, a lot of events coming up, happening. Yeah. And see here, any words of wisdom for the audience, Jacob?
No.
I'm going to tell. So Jacob's New Year's resolution and his advice for everybody is to put the phone down.
Sounds like good advice.
Yes, it's great advice. Put the phone.
I was looking at the weather at
down.
first, and I was trying to find out
Now
a
he's
freaking
trying. Now
quote.
you're looking up the rock.
Yeah, I was trying to look at the quote.
Oh, good Lord. He's always got his phone in his hand. It's almost like he's afraid to lose it.
No.
It's like he looks at it. I mean, do you put it on your pillow at night? I'm just
No.
curious. I mean, do you
I just throw the damn phone at you.
It'll finally be out of your hand. Sorry, everybody. Y'all had to go through that with us. So,
Hey.
all right, Murray. I appreciate it. All right, guys. Y'all stay safe out there.